in color.
Everybody's saying.
Good evening. This is the Town of Raleigh Finance Committee meeting of April 4th. Time is 7:16. Call the meeting to order. And we're going to go a little out of order here. The first item we're going to cover is one of the town meeting articles, Article 21 for the special town meeting on page 6. And that is to see that the town will vote to transfer and appropriate from free cash a sum of $50,000 to be used by the Board of Selectmen for Prospect Hill roadway repairs and stormwater management systems. Just want to make sure that everybody knows that we're being videotaped and you can watch this if you fall asleep. So, with that, I think Bob Snow has a presentation on the Prospect Hill roadway, and I'll turn it over to you, Bob.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, submit these photos of Prospect Hill.
Okay. Are these all the same or all different? Okay.
And as you know, and the people at home probably don't know this, we had a discharge over the weekend of water coming down Prospect Hill. And this morning, I came into the office here and I went with Ms. Egan out to the site with about 10 other people. And as I go through this, I'll mention Selectman Peterson came out with us, Chief Dumas, who else was with us? Oh yeah, Captain Emery came out with us as a water commissioner. So, Brent Baseline. So
And
with
the
that,
Conservation Commission?
Jake, can you turn the camera to camera 1, please, so our people at home can follow? And so, while we were out there, I took some pictures of Prospect Hill, and this is the damage from the discharge of the tank. We'll get into that as we go. This is at the bottom of Prospect. You can see some of the erosion. This is right at the bottom of the road, looking up, and you can see in the upper right-hand corner, see that dark cylinder? That's the old water tank. Okay, and this is the left side of the road as you look up the road. Okay, now this is looking down the road. Okay, so what you're looking at is the east side of the road. This is towards 133, the Pancake House, that way. Okay. As you can see some of the erosion, that this is down the bottom of the road. This is minor compared to what you're going to see as we go up. This is still at the bottom of the road. We're about a third of the way up the road right here, and you can see the different mitigation that was put here for the water drainage. Again, you can see the up in the center, on the top. Here's the water tank, the old water tank. Okay, we'll continue up the road here. Now that I turned around, I just took a picture down. We're looking down. Again, we're about a third of the way up. And you see, this is where Mark Emery and myself went out about, what was it, Mark, about a year and a half ago?
Years ago.
Maybe 2 years ago. Time flies. So this is where we wanted to address the road because of the erosion problems down the bottom. You can see from the washout here. Again, this is about a third of the way up. And here we are, just below the old water tank. And you can see, if you look up on the left-hand side, you can just see there's a great deal of erosion on the left-hand side. Oh, yes, let me see, the pointer. That's right. Okay, hold on 1 second. Right here, see that? You can just begin to see it. Now, you would have thought, the way you looked at this, with the water come down, you would have thought the water would have gone completely this way, but it did wash across the center of the road here. Again, turn around, I took a picture in the center. Now you can begin to see. second, trying to get my pointer back here. There we go. You can see the culvert here that's been formed. Okay. It's gonna get much worse as we go up. Nothing ever goes the way you want it to go with audio-visual, right? Okay. Hold on 1 second. Here we go. There we go. There's the group as we went up the road. We're in the center, about the middle part of the road going up, just before the water tank. You start to see how bad the erosion is. Now, here we are. You see the matting on the bottom left? Let me see if I can get this. Right in here. That's the old part of the road. When the road was originally done, okay, that was all uncovered from this discharge of water. This is about, right in this area right here, that's about 2 feet deep, maybe a little bit more. You can see how deep it is there with Chief Dumas standing beside it. Now we're going to see a little more of the damage and how much it has washed out the center of the road. We couldn't even, if we had attempted to try to bring a four-wheel vehicle up here, we could not have got up this road today. Now you can really see the extent of the damage. Now let me see if I can get this. Right here is the discharge, and as we go forward in the pictures, you'll see a little bit more. Right here, that group of rocks, there was a sort of a dam built for the construction. As the discharge came down, if that hadn't been there, but it was built to be there, okay, the water would have come straight down, but it would have done more damage down the bottom of the road. But where that little dam was, the water jutted out to the east side of the road and then caused this, a severe erosion.
Yeah, well, just
That
know
dam
there's
was-
120,000 gallons of water came out of that
Yep.
The
tank.
velocity.
This is
When it
where,
hit that road, that little dam there was coming so fast. Normally, the water would percolate through the dam if it's
It
runoff.
would work with normals.
Yeah, but this was just too much water too quick.
Drainage.
and this is where the water discharge came from, right here. There's, in the tank, and Mary Beth, you're here, so you can probably explain this a little bit better, but I'll try the best I possibly can. There is an overflow to the top of the tank. There is a pipe that is at the very top, and there's, I take it, some sort of a transducer that electrically sends a signal back to the SCADA system saying that how much water is in the tank, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And at a certain point, when it gets up to that fill, it sends out an alarm, correct? If it's,
Well, it sends a signal to have well number 2 in the treatment plant shut down.
okay,
To prevent the overflow.
okay,
But yes, an alarm would come in if it continued to fill.
okay. So we had a discharge right at this point here of 120,000 gallons. Okay, now you can see the little cage where it's a little protective cage around the discharge of the bottom of the tank. And the water came out this way. And I'm standing the road, all I did here in this picture is I just turned around, okay? So the tank is to my back in this picture.
The road's fine here.
The road's fine
That's why
at
we
this
kept
point.
thinking there was something going on with the tank.
So what the water did was, see if we can get this. At that little, where that cage is right there in the discharge, it goes down into a pipe, and then the pipe ends right down here. So the water was coming out, 120,000 gallons came right down at this point. And now you can understand why. You have the severe erosion. Here I am, I'm looking down the road again. And you can see right there is that little dam. and then the water came down, and then it just cut right into the road right here. And as it goes down further and before the middle part of the road, it just cut down, what, you say, 2.5,
2 to 3
feet?
feet.
2 to 3 feet. And it's done extensive damage to the road
When was this discharge, Bob? When did this happen?
Over the weekend.
over the
This
weekend.
past weekend?
Saturday morning.
Oh, okay.
So
They don't-
what
it's
we're
a-
really doing here is we have, we gotta investigate obviously what happened, why it happened, what happened, we don't know yet. But what we're here for, the $50,000, and that's probably gonna be more than we need, there's gonna be some reimbursement at some point from the water department, but we have to get this fixed ASAP. So it's emergency repairs are gonna start tomorrow morning, and we need this money at the special town meeting.
We
to
got
fund the repairs, and
this
then we'll
fiber optic conduit that's exposed,
figure out.
the stuff that has to be secured before that stuff gets interrupted. And
Right.
goes up to the cell tower.
Does it
Plus,
town
the
have
radio
insurance?
towers up there, we have to make sure the people at the cell phone towers and stuff, and the water department, we need to be able to get vehicles up and down that road for maintenance and emergencies that happen at the top.
Does the town have insurance for something like
That's not
this?
really an insurance, we don't know.
Because usually it's a $5,000 minimum, and then they kick in on the rest.
We'll have to figure that all out later on.
Yeah.
Right now, all we
That
want
can be
is, we want
explored
the money to
later
fix
on,
it, and then we'll
but-
figure out the mechanics of financing it and the water department.
Yeah, or getting reimbursed.
If it's insurance or whatever, so.
Just a question, did anybody notify the insurance company of this? At least notify them so that they have a record of the notification?
No, because I just found out about.
We just found out about this.
Yeah, well, I mean, I would
3:30.
suggest that we just notify the insurance and whether it's covered or not. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, the clock starts ticking and,
No, Maya will be able to take the claim. I just need some information out of the water department, and Mary Beth is working on that right now. So I literally found out at the end of the day.
yeah.
I mean, this all started yesterday morning.
we suspected
About
this,
8
but
o'clock,
we
we
didn't
found
know
out
for
about this.
sure.
And then by 4 o'clock, I talked to Debbie, and then Jim and Perry had this put on the agenda last night as an emergency, and then we dealt with it as best we didn't, because we didn't know all the details. We were still in the dark, but we knew we had to do something. So with that, we went out this morning, and
This is what you saw.
this is what we found. So then we asked water technician to take a look into it, and then Mary Beth came back to us with, and found out about the discharge.
Yeah, we had a representative from Tater and Howard, and
Yeah.
also T. Ford, the contractor, they were both there this morning too. So everybody has a complete picture of what it
We-
is.
we
Now
were-
it's just a
we were
matter
at
of
the
making the
table.
repairs.
About noontime today.
So something happened about the notification? I mean.
We don't know, Dennis. At
We-
this point, we don't even want to say because we need to talk to people and do an investigation, and we're just not ready to.
Well, we wanted to show you,
Publicly
so to
reveal
understand
any information.
why we needed the transfer, why we needed money, as you can see.
That looks quite significant. Is $50,000 going to be
Yeah, I think.
adequate amount, you think?
Were you just trying to patch it right for right now? Is that what you're trying to just kind of make it passable?
Talking
or-
to the representative from Ford today, he seemed to think that that was a reasonable amount to put in for it,
So had the
without
road.
going through and getting his figures totally yet.
Okay.
You know, all the material's at the bottom of the hill, I'm assuming, right? Most of it, all the material must be more or less at the bottom of the hill, so we shouldn't have to buy
It's
too much.
all over the hill.
Okay.
It's in the woods, it's everywhere.
It's
I would
everywhere.
think some of the heavier stuff you should be able to
So
clean
what
up
caused
and
this to
use
happen?
it again, but I,
The tank overflowed.
Tank
It
overflow.
came out that water,
Yeah.
it came out that pipe.
Down
The
the bottom
other,
with
the other
the,
thing that came out of the
There's not
meeting
enough-
was, we were discussing, because, as Dennis would know, being the water operator, tanks do overflow at times.
Yep.
It's overflowed numerous occasions through the years. It's because of the construction, and they've altered the pipe that caused this to happen. We want to get this pipe out of anywhere near the road area now and have it discharged somewhere it's going to be harmless. So we're working on that, actually moving the pipe off to one side more so that if the tank does overflow, or when it does overflow again, it'll go off harmlessly into the woods with some wrap, at discharge, so it'll, but
Yeah.
that's in the works now. This just started happening today, looking at it today, but the engineers are working on that with T. Ford representatives to come up with a solution for that.
I think the only bright spot in this is this happened now as we were doing construction. out there.
Exactly.
Because if this had happened without construction vehicles and everything be out there to do the construction, we'd be behind the eight ball trying to get, funds together and start looking at this. And good Lord knows how long it would take to get the road repaired so that we could get vehicles up and down. Because you have all the communications companies, the police and fire, their radio system is up there, plus the water vehicles that need to go up the road. So
No.
that may be the only bright spot on this.
Yeah. Can this happen again? I mean, did you find, I guess through investigation, you're gonna find out what caused this, but
Right.
you don't wanna start doing repairs and all of a sudden next week it goes
It's
that's-
again.
actually
that's
gonna
why-
be diverted,
The first thing we're gonna do is divert that pipe into the woods.
that's gonna happen tomorrow.
That's happening
Yeah.
tomorrow, so that the next time it
Just
overflows.
a temporary
the water's
divert
gonna
for
go down
now,
the woods.
until we come up with a final solution, but
You
it's
don't wanna
gonna,
end up
they're gonna
doing all
put a
this work.
45
Yeah.
Yeah.
on that pipe where it is now, and divert it off, and then do some securing.
Is that all town property, I'm assuming?
It will be on
You
town
don't wanna
property.
flood somebody's property.
I guess you don't have a water problem anymore now, right?
What's
I mean, is the water levels pretty normal now from with all this rain we've been getting?
Oh, yeah.
Until we get a month of drought, then we'll be back in
From,
the water ban again, which is the way it
Are
is.
there any
Does that go to
butters
the plant
nearby?
at all?
The
The water
state-
treatment plant, did that
The
screw that
state,
up
there are
at
no
all?
homes though, so in other words, if something like
It's
this
shut
happened
down.
again,
I'm sorry.
you wouldn't be flooding somebody's property at all,
No, it's
right?
all
Any
woods,
abutters?
it's all
all
woods.
woods?
Yeah.
Okay,
Well,
because you don't want
most of it's,
liability.
DEP or DCR land,
Yeah,
on the other side of our land.
We have a stormwater permit, so there is erosion control all over the county, and in fact,
Okay,
in that October rainstorm that we had, there was a washout, and the DEP came out, and they ordered the construction to stop for the winter. So there are some erosion control socks, like right here.
Yeah.
You can see that were installed. That's why
They
when
were
I
just overwhelmed.
got the call from the conservation agent yesterday morning, he told me what happened, and we attributed to the
Right.
storm over the weekend, though, it wasn't a down, it was precipitation, it just wasn't intense, so, I was on the phone with the engineers, the contractors, and we scheduled a meeting for this morning, as soon as I could get these people out there with the conservation agent and the chairman of the Concom, and we walked up, because I kept saying, this doesn't seem like what happened in the fall, and, that's when I started to think maybe there was something wrong with the tank, because of the nature of the pictures that I saw yesterday. And I went down to the site yesterday, and I looked for myself, and I didn't go all the way up, but I saw it just seemed to be a lot more intense than what happened in the fall. I mean, this seemed worse,
Yeah.
but there was less rain, and knowing this snow in certain places where it obviously didn't melt and rush off, that's when we kept probing, and it wasn't until very late at the end of the day. We had come to the conclusion that it was the tank, but Mary Beth hadn't been in today, she was out, and we hadn't had a chance to connect till later, but it was all our assumptions, and then she verified after looking at the reports, there was a tank malfunction.
As we walked, all of us were turning back and forth to each other saying, this doesn't look right. This doesn't look like a normal rainstorm. This doesn't look, there's something else happening here, Debbie said. And that conversation probably happened about 20 times, back and forth.
We were
This
definitely
doesn't look-
stumped. We were definitely stumped.
Yeah, we were stumped, and they were saying, this looks, the erosion, it looks like like a trench in World War I, down the middle of the road.
Right.
So the 50,000 should hopefully cover repairs. And then we'll, like I say, later on, we'll look back at how we reimburse from where, and from water department will kick in money, and if we get insurance, fine, if not, whatever, however it works out, but right now, we just need the 50,000 to make the emergency
We may-
repairs
yeah.
starting tomorrow morning.
May not use it all, but you can't go up, you can only go down.
Right.
Right.
And
Town
we're-
meeting, so.
We're anticipating a transfer request from the water board when they have a meeting to
Yeah.
discuss this from their emergency and unforeseen to their expense line so that they can pay for some
It's
of those
actually on the
initial
agenda
costs.
for
because this
next
money
Tuesday.
is not available until after May 1st.
And they can reimburse us.
Right. Well, don't you have funds
Yeah, 50.
available right now that were earmarked for the Pingree Farm?
No,
We
they
Repair.
can't use that for this. You gotta,
Uh,
Prospect Hill.
I-
They
okay.
spent that. They-
Okay.
For the construction. That was for the
All right.
construction.
In the water department, don't they have 50,000 for unforeseen?
They do, and they've had one transfer, Mary Beth can probably recall how much it is. I think they're probably 35,000 left. in the
35,000.
Yeah, about that.
About
That's what we're
35.
talking about transferring
35,000.
to this fund. But we have to have a meeting to do that.
Okay. All right, any other questions, comments? Can I have a,
I'll make a motion
oh, okay.
that we
Oh.
recommend Article 21.
This is out of context, but we have a lot of people that don't need to be here. Have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Peter. Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, okay, Article 21 is recommended.
Thank
Mr.
you.
Chairman, if you have no other use for me,
I don't have any use for you at all. Sorry, Bob. I
There's
couldn't
there's probably more than
I
several
couldn't
people who say that
resist.
to me.
Thank you.
Thank you. Don't set me up like that. Okay, now, let's return.
To the water budget, because it's time for their meeting. I think I saw John Manning out there.
John is out there.
All right, let's go to the water. Number 4, revised water budget. And just again, I want to reiterate that Debbie did send an email to us, I think it was last week, with the water budget in it. The water budget that was handed out this evening is, the numbers are all the same. The only difference being is that on several of the pages, it says that, you know, these numbers were approved at the water board meeting. Approved by the Board of Water Commissioners 3/28/17. But other than that, and correct me if I'm wrong, all the numbers are the same. So I'll turn it over to John and Mary Beth if you have any comments you want to make, or
No, just try to incorporate some of the changes and concerns that were easily to do for this fiscal year, which was to bring the engineering services back in its own separate line, line 7, and brought billing and contract services back onto the Form 1. Those two categories were, under expenses, were already on Form 1, because we had dollars in those in previous fiscal years, so it made it easier to take it out of line, well, this year in the budget, line 6. So that was, and then, of course, we decreased it by line 6 by $100,000, or approximately, I think it would be 95.
And I just want to say, thank you to the Finance Committee for being patient with us, to try and bring some more clarity to this. And I appreciate I think I went through Debbie, Jamie, to try and get some clarity, and you guys sent a nice note with explaining some things. And, it's kind of, I don't want to say it's a learning process, but it's a little bit of an evolutionary process with the board. And hopefully we can get this tuned in, so that next year when we get here, we're just reviewing the numbers with you, not the format. So,
Right.
We'll make a lot of effort to work on that over the year.
The only comments that I had, and I'm comparing the budget from March the 8th versus this budget now, which I'm calling March 30th, is that there were some discrepancies I think that are minor type of a thing, but I just want to get an overall clarification of those. And it's things like the communications, radio. It was 2,800. You're now down to 2,000. Lab supplies were at 61,000, now at 58,000. A bunch of administrative items like bank fees, safety postage, staff development, those were on the March 8th budget, but are now, I guess, incorporated elsewhere. I'm not complaining. I'm not, saying that there's something wrong. I just assume that you've put them in somewhere else, type of a thing. That you've consolidated. You're moving things around, and I understand that. That's one of the reasons for doing the budget. Because you've got stuff that is going differently. Does anybody have any questions or comments? Or?
Yeah, I'll make a comment, Mr. Chairman. I just, I guess I'll say that I want to thank the Water Board for, making an effort. I know that there was a lot of discussion and a lot of time put into revising this to make it a little bit more easy to understand and to change the numbers, I think, that needed to be changed. I still think that there's a little beef in here that can be changed over time, but at least we have a better understanding of at least the wages and that whole page 3 that was very confusing, that was used for many years, that really had no value at all as far as putting a budget together. And I appreciate the adding of some of these engineering lines and things of that nature to break up that $1 million down to something that's more in appropriate grouping that can be exchanged amongst that group, but not exchanged amongst the whole million. So there's still some work that needs to be done there. However, I do appreciate the changes, and the bottom line is, obviously a lesser number. The only other thing that I just want to kind of publicly say too is that I don't think the board or our committee had this information here, and I sent it to the water department on the estimate of the surplus calculations, and I just wanted to pass that around because I just had a comment on that. That's all. Some more there, too. I gave everybody this last week, which
Right.
was, if you don't have a copy, I have another copy. I don't think.
I didn't bring it with me.
I have a
Yeah,
question.
you can have this one. Want to do this?
On the operating salaries, so now you have another $150,000 budget. Are you planning on using that money for this year now?
What line is it?
For the water department salaries, wages, whatever.
I'll give this to Debbie.
Because there were like 2 or 3 positions that weren't filled before, right?
Well,
So-
they were filled, we went back and looked, and that's what I was trying to, that was part of my, you should have got a copy of that, I included that with the response
Well, I did see the breakdown that you gave. Is that what?
that we had.
In other words, those 3 open positions are gonna be filled if possible.
Yeah,
They left the money in there, the money's available, so if they're
Yeah, that was
advertising
my-
those positions. If they can fill them, they'll spend the money. If they don't fill them, then
And it's not that they weren't filled for a year. There had been change in turnover, and so it appeared that way, and we went back and looked, there'd actually been turnover, so the net was, it looked like it was just sitting there, but it was, someone left, someone came back, and...
Short periods of time.
Yeah.
On this sheet here, basically, I just wanted to kind of, go through it, just so that this is my take of things, and maybe it's something that I can share with you people, and hopefully you can look at it as time goes too, that the projected revenues, as we talked about the last meeting, basically, if everything stays the same as it did last year, the last 4 months, I have them in yellow, and you'll see that on the estimated water revenue sheet, you've got 5 months that are in green, which mean they're greater than you had last year, and then there's 3 that are minus. But the net of the whole thing is roughly 2%, I estimate, will be in addition to what you had last year. So based on that, I'm estimating that you're gonna have like 2.8 million in revenue. And the FY17 approved water budget is only 2.4 or 2.5. And that's where I get my estimate of about 300,000 in excess of revenues. And then currently in the water budget, you have the 2 positions, and the half-time position is the janitor. There's 34 weeks that's currently been unfilled. When you add those salaries together, it's about 108,000. And then the overtime projection, that 23.6 was a number I calculated based on the February sheet of how much money was left in that account. And looking at the 2 positions, it was a number that was probably conservative. So that's roughly about $20,000 that could potentially be surplus. And then there's unemployment, there's 12,000. And then on the estimate of estimate of supplies, I backed off from 100 to roughly 50. I think it's going to be more than 50, but I wanted to be conservative in that, so I said roughly there could be 50,000 left over this year. Based on those totals, you have a subtotal of $934,000, plus the certified free cash that you just received that'll go in next year's budget of $187,000. That's where I get the 1.1 million. So what I'm saying is that you should have a good substantial amount of money that you can use for capital or reduce the rates. And that's really what I'm saying is I think as time goes on, in fact, if you look further down here, I went to the next year, and I'm saying, assuming that the water budget, which you're presenting tonight is 2.3, it actually went down. And if you took the revenues and kept them the same as I'm projecting for this year, you're going to have roughly 438,000 plus whatever you have in current balance and stabilization and free cash. So again, I see the potential for a lot of money to be in the stabilization fund or free cash. So my suggestion or my comment would be, this is a good time to get your capital plan together in, long-term, concrete numbers, bonding, if you want to do some water main replacement. I think that's what I would like to see, as opposed to, and I don't want to be derogatory again, but, the wood car signs and the, just if people see the money spent, I think more appropriately, I think that, then the rates would fall in as well. So you might be able to do a combination of both. But that's up to you guys to do that. But I'm just saying, it looks healthy, and by reducing the budget, you really put money in your pocket. So I say spend it well.
We were asked to reduce the budget.
Yeah, I know, but I mean,
we hear from the selectmen to reduce the budget, we do, and
well, we
it's
want to
making
reduce
this
the budget
worse.
because we say that the maintenance line was too much money there. So you don't need that money. So that's what I'm saying, is you're basing your rates on a budget that is really inflated. If you put the budget really where it should be, then your rates would have been, or your capital would be the difference. You know what I'm saying? The rate study will eventually go through that. It will look at what you've done for the last couple of years since the last rate study, and hopefully it will address that the maintenance line item should be lower, and maybe something else might be lower, and therefore you don't need to have as much revenue generated unless you have a capital plan that needs that revenue.
My only comment is that we have not inflated the rates, and that they were set without, last time they were done 3 years ago, there was the plant wasn't online, so that was a very broad estimate, and one of the goals of the board was to hold the rates steady during all of this, the turn-up and the burn-in on the plant. It'll be almost 3 years now. That's reasonable. We've got a rate study scheduled this year, and I think it should jive with...
Yeah, and I'm not saying that you inflated the rates. I think you based your rates on the unknown of where the treatment plan was going to go.
We took a safe and sound approach.
Yeah, and so now that you've got some track record and you see some of the numbers that really can go down, then it's up to you to decide how you want to adjust your rates or your capital plan so that obviously you want to have the revenue and the expenses to match. You just don't want to end up, I mean, I don't know how much money you want to put.
We'll never have the rates, the revenue and the expenses match for the fact that as it's an enterprise fund and we have to fund. One of the different things about the water department, I might be just preaching to the choir here, is that we need to fund the operation and then we need to have enough money to buy a truck to do some capital things. And so, but we can do it more accurately, I think, going forward.
Mary Beth, you had a comment, or?
But I think one of the things was
John
those
said it
filters,
perfectly.
you overestimated what they were gonna cost too, because I thought before there was talk they were gonna be like $500,000, and they haven't,
The approach
that-
with which we were funding them has changed. Originally, when I came in, it was, we were gonna put $500,000 worth of filters aside, and then I think Mary Beth looked and said, you know what, these things degrade, and in 10 years, they'll be garbage, whoops. So, we changed the way we're funding it, we're putting money aside to buy these when they're due, to replace. So it might look like there's some things building up, but it's to address exactly that issue. Instead of having the big pile of, spending that money once and letting them sit there,
Right.
we're trying to do it when we need them, but put the money aside for them.
That makes sense. That makes
Now
good
instead of-
planning sense.
So how much money aside are you putting for the
I think
filters there?
50 a year, are we?
21. I think
21,000.
we-
1,000 a year.
Yeah, for the Paul filters, yeah.
Have they been using any of those filters yet, Mary Beth?
We've had to use one.
Okay, because I was gonna say, if you wind up going through a string of years where you don't really need them, maybe some years you can skip the buying a filter if you start accumulating them. That's why I was wondering.
They're just
No, we
putting them
found
on
No,
the
they-
shelf.
they're not
No, I
right.
understand.
They
They put it
expire.
reserved. Yeah.
They won't last, so they don't, the shelf life of those, of the modules, they
Right,
won't
that's what
last.
John was just saying, yeah.
Right, so when we go through the cleaning process and, we have to take a module offline to plug them, because we have them, if we're taking out the old one and putting in the new one.
Right, yeah. okay.
Otherwise, it's just gonna be, we won't be able to use them at all.
Yeah, okay.
So like, the other thing is like the operators again, I mean, you think those positions are gonna be filled this year?
We're
Because then-
hopeful,
That's our
You know,
goal.
that's the goal, is to fill
Yeah,
them.
it's
I mean,
tough,
we've
the
had-
market's difficult.
I'm not sure, but I think the board wants to take a look at the job descriptions coming up, once the budget is all done, maybe in May, looking at the job descriptions and seeing if we can't do anything with them. That's, one of the things they want to look at, to make sure that our job descriptions are competitive with, excuse me, other job descriptions of the same type. They may want to restructure a little differently to bring in less qualified people. I mean, it's right up in the air right now, but the goal is to have fully staffed water department at some point, whatever the board decides to, route to go.
Last question, comment, I want to just point out, because, I live and die by numbers, as reading this sheet. One of the things, because we discussed it at the water board too, is that we had a severe drought last year, and people were pumping the water like crazy, so that's why the wild swings, with 35% almost over in July. And then we first put the restrictions in August, people understood. September, they pumped a lot again and realized, and of course we were right back out, doubled our efforts, and then it plummeted down by 36%. The net effect was, it was definitely a downward trend for us over the period in here, but it was people trying to adjust their lifestyle with the water restrictions, I guess. So, because it seemed really out of sort with the bursty nature of the use, and that, as we talked about it, we figured out.
Well, part of this number is not just the billing. If you look at that whole sheet, it's for new water services and the fees and all that. So when you look at some of the fees that you might have done in 16, they may not have been around in 17 or that particular month. So that's really part of the whole equation, it's not just the water bill itself. So, but the bottom line is the bottom line. It's, okay, after all, the whole year, what is it as opposed to last year? you estimated so many new services, so many extensions, fees, things of that nature. It looks like, you know, you're still gonna have a surplus if everything goes accordingly.
Yep.
And if, you know, people start conserving again, who knows, that might, you know, come down a little bit. And if you have new connections and things that are coming about, then, you know, that could go swing either way.
We try to build a margin of safety.
Yeah, just be conservative, and I think that, you know, that these are conservative numbers at this point. So hopefully, you know, they don't go worse than this.
And people have, you know, got major hits in their water bills. I know my water bills increased 3 times since, you know, 8, 9, 10 years ago. So, I mean, if there is a surplus, you know, again, going forward after this year, I think we should really, you know, look at those rates again, because, I mean, there's,
Well, they do have a rate study.
yeah, I know there's a rate
Here.
study going, yeah.
And we'll have this year, when we have the rate study, we'll probably have a public hearing afterwards to present the findings to everyone. So there's no kind of people wondering what's going on with the water. We'll have a public hearing, we'll just present the findings, and then we'll work on it and take the input about what we're gonna do.
Okay, any other questions, concerns, comments?
I don't make a motion, Mr. Chairman, that we accept the
Okay.
water department in the amount of $2,564,765.75 for FY '18. I'd like to put a number there only because, you know, these sheets change around. And,
Okay.
I'd just like to put a number in there, because that's the number that's being presented.
Okay, have a motion and a second. Any other comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Okay. Water budget is recommended. Thank you very
Again,
much.
Thanks, John.
Thank you for your time and
I
patience.
appreciate it.
Likewise. Should be here a little earlier.
Okay, let's go back and
Thank you all.
thank you.
Right, John?
My schedule here. Collective bargaining reserve is part of the selectmen department budget. Just that one number has been added, and that is the 55,000. Here, it's the selectmen's budget.
I see.
Here, right here.
Which section?
Form 1, selectmen's budget.
It was in the packet, but not in the water department items.
Yeah, that one.
I make a motion that we approve it.
Okay, have a motion by Sharon. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. Jamie, any discussion on the collective bargaining reserve? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Recommendation is carried. Next will be the debt service.
Mr. Chairman, after we voted on this last week, the treasurer actually, with the financial advisors, got the borrowing all set, that the selectmen were signing that, so, last night. And so the interest payment went down. She had an estimate before.
Okay.
It's 12,500.
Make a motion that we recommend the debt.
Okay, have a
I'll second
motion.
that.
Any discussion?
Do you see 12,500? Where is that? I don't know.
Wasn't
That was what you voted on last week.
Now it's
Not a police, the police fire
Okay.
station.
Next to the asterisk,
90,000.
500.
Borrowed $1 million and it's committed a cheaper rate than what she originally thought it was.
It's always good.
Okay, any other questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. And then we go to the town articles. Now, Let's take, since we already started on the special town meeting, why don't we continue on with it? So we'll take the special town meeting articles. First one will be Article 3, sum of $5,000 unemployment to be added to line 8, selectmen's expense.
I'll make a motion, we recommend Article 3.
Okay, Jamie?
A second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, Article 3 is recommended. Article 4, transferring $15,946 from line 93.
I'll make a motion that we accept Article 4.
Okay,
A second.
Aaron. Any discussion on the schools reappropriation? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Article 4 is recommended. Article 5.
I'll make a motion,
Okay.
and I'll second that.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any discussion on Article 5? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Article 5 is recommended. Article 6, $10,000 from free cash to pay for the Veterans District Assessment.
I'll make a motion.
Okay.
That needs a
Janet?
9/10 vote.
Yeah, I
That's
saw,
for
that was
previous year.
surprising.
Yeah.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, I have a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Article 6 is recommended. Article 7,
So what happens if a 9/10 vote, it doesn't pass?
We're in trouble.
Yes, with the Veterans District. I don't know, they may try to.
They've already spent the money, pretty much, right?
We owe the money from a previous year. It's
Right.
one of those, it'll be a voice unanimous. I
Yeah,
don't, and nobody ever talks against the veterans.
That usually
Yeah,
goes
we'd
through
hope.
with no problem.
but you
They're
do raise a good
operating at-
point, you know, that,
The other, I think when they did the calculations, they realized they had the shortfall. It was a mistake, a clerical mistake in their office, and
Right.
we were very surprised that the assessment went down, and we kept saying, "Are you sure, are you sure?" "Oh, sure, it's right," and we found out this fiscal year it was wrong, well into this fiscal year.
They had changes in directors over
was-
there,
it was
like 3 of them.
Several turnover,
Yeah.
and Terry Hart passed away,
Yeah.
suddenly that started it, and it was.
So is the 9/10 because it's from a prior fiscal year?
okay, Article 7, transferring $19,729 collective bargaining reserve for the police bargaining agreement. Have a motion to,
I'll make a
This?
motion to recommend Article 7.
have a motion, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second, Janet.
We close to getting there, or no?
Yeah, it's, we did try to get everything done for town meeting, we realized we couldn't, so they know I need a couple of weeks now to work on this stuff, so we'll be resuming negotiations, so.
Okay. Any other discussion? Article 7, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Article 7 is recommended. Article 8, transferring $20,070.
I'll make a motion for the highway surveyor, purchase a utility tractor.
Okay.
And I'll second that. And I saw it broken down near my house trying to do the sidewalk, so I know it needs to. It's-
Any other discussion on the tractor? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Article 8 is recommended. Article 9, 6,000 for the library director.
Is that an ADA
Door opener.
requirement, or?
I think it's a good idea.
I was gonna say, a lot of doors are heavy for me to open,
Yeah.
so I think it's a good
Yeah,
idea.
it's
I
not a
mean, not for me,
requirement,
but
but it's
I
something
think
that
for ease of access.
really should be done with the number of elderly that use the
Yeah.
library, as well as small kids, they can push the button on the door open too. So it's really one of those
Yeah.
things. So
Yeah.
the amount of usage the library gets now, it's
Yeah.
the convenience of it.
So will it
The
be two
really
ADA,
doors?
modern.
small kids, elderly.
This door here, at the side.
Yeah, the main door.
Is that the
Right,
handicap- is
but
that the
there's
handicap
two doors to
accessible
go
door?
I
through.
presume that's how it's gonna work.
I assume it'll probably be the outside and the, you know, I mean, normally you go
Both.
one and then the other, you go
Yeah.
inside, hit the button again.
Is that where the handicap ramp is and everything?
Oh,
Or
it's
is it-
flat.
Yeah, well, there's no ramp
Oh,
over
there's
there.
no
right?
ramp.
There's a, it's inclined.
It's ADA
to
compliant.
slope.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
fine.
Yeah, it's ADA compliant, it's just making.
It's nice to have that in the same door,
Yeah.
that's all.
Yeah.
Right.
I'll make a motion, we
Okay.
recommend Article 9.
Jamie,
I'll second.
Janet. Any other discussion on the library door? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Article 9 is recommended. Article 10, 40,000 to be used by the fire chief.
I'll make a motion.
Okay.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
I
Well,
think
for the
I'll-
sale of town property, what town property do they, do
Land.
they sell?
Tax-
What?
It's
That was a-
non-tax title.
that was the library, wasn't
It was
it?
the old
Oh, the
library.
library?
Funds from
Oh,
the sale of the
okay.
library.
And we're trying to get those funds off the books now, and this is one of the capital expenses from the fire department, so.
I think I'll recuse myself. I don't know if Mark's getting equipment or not.
Yeah, but you should,
I
yeah.
don't think I should, yeah.
Okay. Any other discussion on the equipment? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Article 10 is recommended. Article 11, $3,800 from free cash. Send a police officer to the police academy.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, it's kind of a
Article
necessary
11.
thing. Have a second?
I'll second.
Have a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Article 11 is recommended. Article 12, transfer 350 of the 450.
Make a motion.
Okay.
I'll second.
And Dennis the second. Any discussion on?
Yeah, we were gonna get the other grant, we didn't get that, so are we
Right.
now,
Right, so the green,
we're just backing off that?
the green belt was putting in for
Fines.
the grant that we voted last year. That fell through, we didn't
Yep.
get it, so then we're gonna put in for another state grant, which we couldn't put in for. So the green belt says they're gonna, we're still committed for the 100,000, they're gonna, through donations, get enough money to either fulfill that requirement, and they also were gonna deal with the Mahaffey family, because the whole agreement had to be extended beyond.
But the
If it
new-
falls through, eventually we'll get that 100,000 back.
But the new grant that they're applying for, you know, how, like this one, you had to come up with the whole amount
Yeah,
of
no,
money?
there's no more grants, it's,
Okay.
they're gonna raise their money through donations. That's what the
Yeah,
latest.
my thing was just that if we have no,
Yeah, on the original grant, we had to pay the bill and then get
Even though the money
reimbursed
did,
from the state.
Yeah, so this is showing up on the books right now, so we need to release the
Yep.
350,000 so that there's enough to
But the
purchase.
money's being used to purchase.
We
land.
need this money to buy the Gwin land, basically.
300, there was never a plan to have 450,000 of the town, it was just 100,000.
Right.
But the requirements of the state were
You had to
that the
appropriate
check
the whole
actually
thing,
had to
yeah.
be
Right.
handed over by the town of Raleigh in the amount of 450. And that's why we had that November town meeting, we had all that language, a very long written article, we spent a lot of time on that, legally working that out. And so it's still on the books for a total of 450, and we need to release that. So the CPC voted to release that 350,000, because they need to be able to show on the accounting books that now that money isn't tied up.
So this article is just moving the funds back.
Right.
It's,
Yeah.
even though it describes down here about purchasing 3.5 acres.
There'll be another article,
Okay.
would actually locate a purchase
They're
of
trying to,
wetland.
so we'll have money on the books now to be able
Yep.
to, be able to
Okay.
purchase some other land that's only,
Who seconded it? Who was second?
Yeah. You seconded.
Oh, yep.
Any other discussion on Article 12? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, Article 12 is recommended. Article 13.
I do have a question on this one.
Okay.
I live at 367 Weathersfield, and I believe are these the lots that are between the horse farm and going up to the bridge?
I don't have a copy of the warrant. What's the article?
Oh, Article
Article
13.
13, this is-
For 351 Weathersfield and 355 Weathersfield Street. It comes to about 5 acres or so of land between the two lots.
Yeah, it's just before the bridge, the first bridge from Route 1
Yeah,
on the right.
okay, so, and
There's two
it's
lots that go, they're like spaghetti lot, all those spaghetti lots.
Yeah.
Like, I think you're on one of them.
like me,
A couple before your house,
but it's on the other side
on
of
the
the
other
bridge.
side of the bridge, basically.
Okay, there's been an abandoned
Yeah,
SUV, is that,
we're gonna try to deal with
it's
that.
been there
Right.
for, I don't know, 8, 10 years?
Oh, longer than
Yeah,
that.
please.
I think the old owner
Here's the letter from the conservation.
left it there.
And I figured by now, if it's gonna be, must be leaching oils or whatever. into
Yeah,
the- It's been there like, I'd say 8 or 10 years.
Hoping it becomes an antique and then we
Yeah,
can.
I was gonna say, it's probably an antique by now.
Is that the property that SUV's on?
Yes, it is, yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
It's on the
it's
tax
immediately
title.
after the horse farm with the
I always thought it was
SUVs.
part of the horse farm,
Been
and I
there
couldn't
forever.
imagine
We've
why
always
they
owned
didn't
it,
get
we're
rid
just
of it.
now turning it over to the conservation.
That would be
Maybe we can
great.
get the
The
people
horse
from
farm is
Fast
further
and
down from your
Furious
property.
to
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
take it.
Yeah.
I think that
Well,
was
this is
tax
my house
title.
right here, my
These are
property.
the tax
Yeah.
title.
And these are the lots right here.
Mm-hmm.
There's the horse farm, and then you've got these two
All right,
lots.
I don't need it.
And this, the SUV is right here. It's been there for 8 or
Well, Debbie,
10
I'm all set.
So
years.
that's going towards Georgetown, right?
Oh, okay, she's
No,
got a
no,
copy
this is
there.
Route 1, right over here.
This Route 1 is
And then the
right?
first
Gave me a
bridge
copy.
is right here,
He gave me a copy.
So where's, okay, so where's Route 1?
right here.
Right here, and where's?
Yeah, right at the winery, right at the corner here.
Right, and where's this?
The
where's
horse farm is right here,
And so where's the property now that you?
right here. These two lots,
Oh.
355 and
351.
351. And that's really mostly wetlands too, because you
I don't
know,
know if we even need to make
rivers.
a
No, we don't.
recommendation on this one.
No, there's no money.
Probably not,
Yeah,
no money involved, right?
yeah. So,
thank you, Debbie.
I have a motion to take out the Finance Committee
yeah, to put no finance committee recommendation.
recommendation.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Any other discussion? I guess not. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, Article 14, 45,000 from the Water Department stabilization. On the Prospect Hill construction project. You have a motion for this, Article 14.
Well, I noticed that several of these articles, 14, 15, 16, and 17, all have to do with the water department. Any of these figures affected by the presentation that was done tonight?
No, this is money out
Nothing.
of there, stabilization.
So everything, okay,
Right.
all right. Then I'll make a motion that we recommend 14.
Okay. You have a second?
I'll second that.
Any other discussion? Yes?
Well, I guess I have a general question now, so, the water, everything to do with the water is supposed to be coming from the enterprise fund, so my question is, in terms of when they have these, annual meetings and stuff, people who are voting, voting up and down on these things, there's some people that don't even have, connection with water service, is that really bad or not? I mean, in
State
term-
law, it's a state law that,
It's-
the town meeting has to approve this stuff, so.
Yeah, there's no
Really
choice.
don't be too concerned about it, really. Nothing we can do about it. Jack Demento used to bring that up all the time,
Yeah,
that
there's
Right.
no,
is-
no choice. You have to vote it. whether you have water or you don't.
Right.
You can get all the people that are on wells that
Right.
band together
It's kind of like,
and then sell us water.
You're voting for the school budget.
That's just the way the law reads.
Yeah, it's the same thing at school, yeah, exactly.
Well, plus if the
Well-
water department failed, the town's on the hook.
Yeah.
So
well,
there
that part,
is.
yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
if the water department
it's- the law's
has a
the law.
deficit, we have to make it up.
right.
Okay, any other discussion? All those in favor, Article 14 recommending, signify by saying aye. Aye. Article 14 is recommended. Article 15, $187,278 from the Water Department free cash.
I'll make the motion, because that's
Okay.
been certified by
Yeah.
the
Right.
DOR.
Second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Article 15 is recommended. Article 16, 18,000 stabilization fund for the HVAC system at Central Street.
I'll make a motion for Article 16.
Okay. Do I have a second?
A second. I mean,
Okay.
I hope that's required.
I don't have air conditioning in my house, but then
Well,
again, I'm
it's-
not a public.
It says that it's heating and cooling.
Right.
I don't know that cooling is really mandatory or really would be for the
Probably
season that we
yeah,
have. I don't
more
know.
of a
Year-round office space, you
dehumidification.
gotta cool it and something. I mean, everybody, every
But
other
once you
office
put
is-
in hot air, it's not like it's a huge expense to add the air conditioning.
Right.
Right.
So I'm assuming it's hot air.
Assuming they have a
HVAC.
price or a cost,
Yeah.
an estimate of.
Right.
Yep.
Any other discussion on Article 16? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Article 16 is recommended. Article 17, 80,000. Dehumidification at the water treatment plant.
I'll make the motion that we
Okay.
recommend Article 17.
There, Paul. Have a second?
So this is putting the cost of it well over $400,000.
Yes,
Right.
those came in way high.
Yeah.
Well, we haven't had a second, otherwise we
Yeah,
can
second.
discuss it, so.
Hmm.
Somebody second.
Right. We need a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Now it's open for discussion.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I'm not gonna vote for this, because I don't know, there's no backup on the 80,000. I know it's needed, but, you know, this project started at 200,000 estimate, then it went to 350, now it's another 80,000. I have no idea whether the one bidder that gave a quote, whether he just threw that number in off the top of his hat. I have no backup to substantiate increasing this project to $80,000, so I'm not gonna vote for it at this time.
I feel that they're at this point that they really need it.
Well, there's no question that it's a safety issue, I know
Yes,
that,
it's-
but at what cost? I mean, does the town just
You
keep
want
on?
to put it off for another year and have them
I-
do all of that
Yeah, but I don't
problem
wanna spend
again?
$80,000 if it really should be $350 or $250. You have one contractor that gave a price and nobody questioned it. Water department said, yeah, let's just go 80.
no
And then
one
by the
else.
time they bid it out again, it might be 500, 550. So, I mean, there's no backup to this at this point, so I think we need the town needs to have some explanation on that.
Okay,
That's just
then
my
if you,
opinion.
and I'm just saying that
Yeah.
if you don't vote it, then it goes another whole year before that problem can be fixed up there.
I
And
understand,
that's a big problem.
but is it fixed yet? So-
The biggest thing is the corrosion that would take place throughout the year without the dehumidification.
Well, I went up there a number of times a year ago, not this past summer, but a year ago. And the water was literally all over the floor. And the humidity in there was unbelievable. And it's something that, you know, why this wasn't included in the original building, this water over the dam, it absolutely should have been, but it wasn't.
Becomes a safety issue.
This is an aftermarket, I believe they only had
It's a safety issue,
one
and
person,
you
one
might
company that it was even interested in doing this. My guess would be when you buy aftermarket stuff, there's probably gonna be maintenance issues in the future, but it's a safety issue, it's an equipment, because the equipment all starts rusting.
Town will get sued.
It's just, they literally have us over a barrel. I don't think there's much we can do other than, you know, I agree with Dennis in terms of I don't know how much bidding they did or how much they looked for it, but it's something that, it needs to be done sooner rather than later. And I imagine when they get this money, this may not even get done for this summer, so they may have to go through another summer, and the people working up there squeegee the floors on a constant basis just to get rid of the water.
Okay, any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
Okay. Motion is carried. Let's see. Not required. Article 19, not required. Nice to be not wanted. Article 20.
Make a motion.
Okay, have a motion to approve the community preservation funds.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All those, yes?
What is the last one? Administrative appraisal? What is that? Appraisal? Administrative
Appropriations.
Appropriation.
Oh. So that's what it costs to,
This is, they have to take the
Administer-
funds, there's certain percentages that have to be allocated to these three categories every year. And this
Yeah.
is just doing it. So it's not saying that any of this money, we're not voting to spend any of this money, we're just voting to allocate it to these three categories as required by law.
we have to put money in the administrative.
Yep, as part of the fund,
What
the
is-
act.
Administrative what?
Housing,
Appropriations.
whatever else.
We use it for surveying land, getting appraisals. They use it for advertising their hearings, and it's required under the law to have money to spend for administering the fund.
All right, any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Recommended. Article 21 is recommended, so that finishes the special town meeting. And we go to the annual town meeting. I don't think we have too many of these left.
Article 4 is actually
Article
the budget, so we couldn't put the
4.
budget in until you voted on those 2 lines
Yeah.
Right.
tonight. So I'll be placing that in there and saying that the FinCom recommends the budget, because every budget line has been voted on and recommended.
Okay, so,
And you're gonna change the
So
water
now Article
department, right?
5
Yep.
is the new water.
well, do we
budget.
have to vote on Article 4 just,
Well,
pending
If you
inclusion?
want to take a vote on it, that'd be great.
yeah, why don't we do
I'll
that?
make a motion.
Okay,
And I'll
make a
second.
motion and a second to approve the budget pending inclusion of the 2 items we just approved earlier. Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Article 5,
That's the new water budget.
that's the new.
Right,
We already approved that.
well, we can do another motion tonight.
Well,
just
yeah,
to
we
find
need,
it.
we approved the budget, but now I have to approve the article.
Right.
with the
Make
budget.
a motion.
Okay,
Where's the
So the
2277?
227 is what you see in your spreadsheet over here, that's the amount that you approve under this article. I know there's the transfers and the
Yeah.
other things where we're appropriating the 227.
Okay, yeah, so the other stuff is in the next
Yeah.
article. Yep.
I'll second that.
okay. Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Article 5 is recommended. Article 6. This is all your insurances and everything for the water.
I'll make a recommendation for Article
Okay,
6.
Jamie,
I'll second.
and Janet. Any other discussion on Article 6? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Article 6 is recommended. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, we're,
The explanation's all okay, or?
Yep, we did all those.
it's, I think the revolving fund transfers.
It's
Article
15.
15.
15, yeah. I move that we recommend Article 15. And I'll second that.
Do we ever get a balance on these accounts, or?
Yes, so, that's actually the following article. So we have to have a bylaw, this creates the bylaw now under the Municipal Modernization Act. But we still actually have to annually, vote on the expenditure cap and have a report, and the report will be on the, almost like we've been doing anyway. But that's the following article, has all the balances. Because,
The balances or the, how much they can spend?
yeah, that's the following article.
Article
This is just
16.
the bylaw. The bylaw is not gonna have that because
It does-
Oh, okay, yeah,
Article
okay, yeah,
16.
I see it.
we have to still vote on that every year. It didn't, I don't know why they changed this, it could have made it easier for cities and towns, but it didn't. And it didn't give us any time to do it either, we only had a
And
couple
they had a
months.
whole committee to
Yeah.
decide if it was gonna make it easier, right?
So we have to have the bylaw that establishes the revolving fund, so if we ever want to create a revolving fund or discontinue one, we have to amend the general bylaws of the town and take it off. And this is the template from the Department of Revenue that they gave us to follow, and the town council looked at it, and so we need this in place, or these, where we don't have any bylaws as of July 1st. So it's, would cause a significant problem if we didn't have these revolving funds in place.
So the balances that are in there now,
That's the next
Yes.
article.
Yeah,
I
that's-
understand that. I have a
Okay.
question. Does that ever get considered for free cash, or it just stays there?
It stays in the town meeting head or transfer money out of revolving fund.
Okay.
If we have to. But it does stay in there.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other discussion on Article 15? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Okay. Article 15 is recommended. Article 16 is all the different balances and not to exceed.
David, there is one new one on there, right? Article number 13, records access.
Yes, we did add that one.
We've added that one. That's the one where if people make public record requests, they have to pay for the records. So therefore, the money used to go into the general fund, now it'll go into this article, and then this article will be used to reimburse the individual departments for the, so they're not losing money out of their budgets when public records are requested.
Okay, can I have a motion to recommend?
I will make a
Article
motion
16.
to recommend Article 16. I'll second.
Second by Sharon. Any other discussion?
I'd
No,
like
I
to-
just,
Go ahead.
go ahead. No, I just wanted to know, ask Debbie a question. On this not to exceed, how do they, who comes up with that, the departments?
In consultation with the Board of Selectmen, when these haven't changed other than the Agricultural Commission, they always had 1,000, and they kept asking, because if they want to spend more than that, they have to go to the Selectmen and the Finance Committee, and they kept going. So that was the suggestion of the Selectmen, just increase that to 5,000. So these are the caps that go back more or less to when they were originally authorized by town meeting.
Because like the harbor master went for 30,000, I mean, that seems, Well, just looking at what activity they have, it seems like that might be a lot.
I think he
Well,
was
that one-
thinking, but his use, which is in the bylaw section, is more for, he may be able to buy, boat, a boat, or, if he got a
The
grant
dock.
or donations. He was
But he-
thinking when he established this, he would have a goal of trying to be able to.
But he didn't use too much. It looks like he
No,
started with
he-
241 and ended with
He's only
241,
got-
so
yeah.
he didn't buy a boat or
But he
anything.
said it was created into which donations proceeds from the sales of harbor master boats and equipment shall be deposited. So I think he was trying to plan for the future, and then he could use that money to purchase some things, so he wouldn't be coming to town meeting, trying to be a little more supporting in the environment, I think.
I'd like to suggest that next year when these departments come in with their budgets, that we have a copy of their revolving funds. Especially, there's some here that have quite a bit of money. I think we need to better understand what the money is coming in for, what it could be used for, and if there's anything in the budget that really should be going through the revolving funds. Don't see why, if you take all the money that's in these revolving funds, it's adding up. But there's certain departments that have a lot, over $10,000, and, their expenditures can't exceed. Zoning is one, shellfish.
Shellfish, yeah. Does that
Cemetery
mean that
has a lot.
if the shellfish, for example, they have $10,755, and it says the expenses can't exceed $6,000, so that means even though they have the money in there, they can't spend more than $6,000?
Without permission of the
Without
finance
permission.
committee and the selectmen.
Okay. Almost all the other departments are well below
But they can
the
just-
limits, but that one was a major exception.
But even,
Well, the
like,
zoning board of appeals, too, look at
Is
that
that-
one.
Which one is that?
That one's right, one right underneath that one, 10,000.
Oh, yeah, I didn't see that, yeah. You're
so
right.
it could be that between their budget and looking at this, there may be articles to move funds to their budgets, so that the town's not funding as much, but
Right.
it doesn't make
Mhm.
sense to keep all this money in these revolving
Right.
funds.
I would agree with that.
So,
But you gotta remember also that if you reduce someone's budget this year by 5,000 by putting this money in, next year you're gonna have to bring it back up again. So you're gonna have that
Well, depending on what-
bounce effect.
It depends on what these revolving funds are used for, but,
Or
You
how
know-
the money comes into the
right,
revolving
so
fund.
like the library, I believe a lot of that is for photocopying. So maybe a certain percentage should go out towards like supplies. I don't know. But we don't have that kind of information to even make suggestions. I think we just need to be better educated.
Okay. Make a note of that, and hopefully I can remember that. All right, any other discussion on Article 16? You have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Okay, Article 17 is recommended. Article 18. PEG access. We don't vote this, and then our screen goes blank.
This is Article 17, right?
No,
Oh,
18.
we had already done 17.
Okay.
And that's a requirement according to the Mass General laws. I'll make a motion that we
Okay.
recommend Article 18.
I'll second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Article 19 is recommended. Article 20. This is for the Pine Grove School renovation. I have a motion to recommend.
I'll make that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Dennis, Have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Any discussion?
I just have a question on that. When would this be undertaken as far as actually going through with this project? Would this be like next year or
Well, the,
for the Pine Grove?
the,
Or a couple of years.
the project is underway. They do even have the construction manager at risk involved. The actual construction, I think,
June of
is,
2018.
Next summer.
Yeah.
A year
June
from
of
this summer.
A year?
June of
Okay.
2018
Assuming it all goes
completed
through.
by.
Where it really gets seriously
Well,
underway.
if this gets approved, it's gonna take a year to do the drawings and the bidding and
Plans.
all the technical stuff, and then they wanna be ready to go, so when school closes a year from this June, they can start
Will be
full-time
completed by August of
while the kids are out of
2019.
school.
And how long
Right.
does it take for the state to commit that, their part of the funds?
They're
Would
gonna
that
be
happen
voting
like
on
They'll
this?
commit some in June.
Yeah.
isn't it? Something
Yeah,
like that.
June.
This
Right.
year, we
Yeah,
would.
right.
Yeah, they're
Okay,
gonna,
we'll
no, we're
know.
voting this, and then they're gonna.
If we pass this, the state's more or less a rubber stamp, basically. I mean, it doesn't-
Okay.
So if the state doesn't approve, are we funding the entire project?
no.
Or
Oh,
is
yeah.
this,
It
It
would be,
doesn't- it's not
it would be
clear.
very difficult for the state to not approve it,
But
because
I'm-
we've been
I'm not
working
s-
with them.
I understand that, I'm just
Right.
asking, if they don't,
Well,
by
they-
passing this, are we taking on
they-
the full debt?
They've already invited us into the program.
Right.
And they've already agreed to pay a certain amount of money. They're not gonna pay, in fact, I think the town is paying a little bit more than the state, because they're gonna reimburse us roughly 50.46%.
Right.
And there are some issues, not issues, but items such as the site work that we're gonna have to absorb ourselves, which is roughly $3 million. So the whole process has been connected with the Mass School Building Association. So, they have rules and regulations, and we've been following them, going to the meetings, and so there's no way that they're gonna not fund the program. And they've committed to 50.46. I think there was a meeting two weeks ago or a week ago. So, I mean, there's no way that they're not gonna fund the project.
Yeah,
But
normally we would
that's really
fund
not my
our
question.
share afterwards, but because our town meeting is in May, we
Yeah.
really have to vote first, and then they don't meet till June, but they're
I mean,
committed,
if-
and
If they didn't, we'd probably put them at a
If-
special town meeting and rescind.
believe me, if they don't approve it, we're not gonna start the
The
project.
selectmen
We're
have
not
to sign the
gonna,
bond.
we're not gonna bond
Yeah.
$38 million.
Yeah.
Definitely not.
Okay.
It's just the
And
timing.
then, so my other question is, in the explanation, I mean, it talks about the total cost, but I think it would be nice for people to understand the impact to the tax rate.
That's not gonna be in this. That'll be on literature that gets passed
Yeah,
out.
the
We can
literature,
talk about it at
but-
town meeting, but
My question, Dave, is, I sat through the whole presentation the other night, which was excellent, but they're not gonna do a big one like that, are they?
no,
Town meeting.
I talked to the moderator,
Yeah, that's why I'm asking you.
and we kind of agreed that it could be like 10, maybe 15 minutes
Yeah.
is cut back, and then open it to questions so that people
Yeah.
can get specific questions in. Oh, yeah, we're not gonna.
It's really the architect, I think, that.
Yeah, I think mainly the
we'll have
architect
some
and the
discussion
superintendent
about
will be there
features.
too.
So it
Yeah.
was very good the other night.
Yeah, he did a good job.
Excellent, yeah.
I think he's gonna do a PowerPoint and then a quick
Yeah.
explanation and just to hit the high points and then,
But we had several
Take
teachers
questions.
and everything up speaking, and as I
Yeah.
said, it was very interesting and informative, but
Yeah.
too long for town meeting.
no, yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
And I hope residents look at that program when it comes on TV, so that
Yeah, whatever.
they can educate themselves on it.
I would've
Those
spent
People
a
that
little-
don't get the warrant and don't
Yeah.
know there's any.
Plus, there'll be another presentation upstairs when we have the pre-meeting upstairs.
Yeah, what
the
night
week
is that?
before. So Monday before, right?
April
Right.
24th, it's a joint meeting with
Yeah, I
the
know.
selectmen
Yeah.
and FinCom.
They're gonna be there to make a presentation for that meeting too.
Okay.
One of the things that Sharon was mentioning was a couple of people are upset that they don't have much information on it, but I mean, we're not, as a town, we can't send out information, it's against the law. So, people have to watch television, read the newspapers, word of mouth, watch the selectmen's meetings, finance committee meetings. I mean, it's difficult to get the information out. We all agree it is,
But you
but there's nothing much we can do. We're not allowed to actually send out literature or anything like that, so.
You can't even put the information on the town website
Oh, it's on the web, we got the information on the website, but we can't spend any money on,
There can't be any endorsement or
Right, not to
asking
promote it, but just
Right.
saying this is what
it's on the
Information.
website, it's on the, you know,
There's a video actually.
there's video on the
That Joe
TV station.
Perry and Chris Walsh
Yeah.
and Brian Forget did with the Principal Nealon in the school that show the different, I think, areas that are not, that are malfunctioning in that school,
Okay.
you know, that aren't working. That's on RCM, and so there's plenty, and this, all the school building committee meetings are video recorded and shown on the local cable and the website.
I'm just surprised the press hasn't picked up anything, you know, as a news item, you know, that we're considering.
The problem we have is that there is a big article in today's weekly, the Town Common has a
Yeah.
front page article in today's edition. But the Newburyport News, I don't know, even if they got
Yeah, they
100
haven't,
subscribers, and there aren't enough subscribers in Raleigh that they don't give us too much news anymore.
We can have a little column on Mondays, that's about.
Yeah,
what
that's
we
about
have.
what we get, is Michelle Marshall puts
Well,
in.
Fox News was there that night.
Yeah, Fox News did a
It was
story.
on the news, at
Oh,
the
it was
10
on the
o'clock
news?
news,
Yeah.
yes,
It
it
was
was.
actually on the
Showed-
news.
They had the community engagement, had an excerpt of that, and interviewed Brian Forget and Joe Perry. And then it ran, I think in the morning too.
Oh, I'll have to
Yeah.
pull that up.
They covered
I
it.
saw them there, but I didn't know if they were
Yeah.
rolling. I think they were waiting for some discussion, and but it was no
Right.
news, so, but,
Okay, any other discussion on Article 20? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Okay.
Just as a side note, just kind of keep in mind that if this doesn't pass, that next year's town meeting, if not sooner, we'll be looking for multiple millions of dollars for boilers and roofs and things that are gonna have to be repaired. I mean, this is not a project that's for looks or for, because we feel like we wanna make a better school. We have some serious repair issues over at that school that are all wrapped up in this project. And if we don't get the money, then we're gonna pay 100% of all the repairs ourselves, and it's gonna start with next year. With the boiler, the roof anyway, and probably the boilers, because she said the boilers are breaking down on a regular basis. So I mean, this is a real imperative. It's expensive, it's gonna cost the taxpayers a lot of money, but it's an investment, because we have to do it. And if we don't have a good running school, then your house isn't gonna be worth much either. So most people moving into town, first thing they look at is, what do you got for schools?
Right, they want to know that rather than if you have a new public safety building.
Right,
The school is
exactly, yeah,
more,
no,
you
that's
know,
true.
you know. I mean,
We're gonna have both, maybe.
right. But the other thing is, you know, I mean, I think it's good they're finally doing something, but, you know, I don't know if they're making these refurbishments, when is it gonna, you know, I'll probably be dead 30 years from now, they'll probably say, we want to build a new school now. I mean, I don't know, I mean, how much,
Hey, we have to deal with
It would have
now in the
been-
next 10 years, and anything beyond
You
that
know.
for some of us is
Yeah.
pie in the sky,
Yeah.
maybe.
I don't
But I
know.
mean, you gotta do what you gotta do.
Some of us maybe
The
even
place needs
shorter.
repairs, and we gotta do it.
A lot shorter.
You old people.
Got my candle burning at both ends. Okay, moving on, Article 23, appropriate $198,000 to be expended by the Board of Selectmen. Different items,
What article do you say?
23.
23.
So it's about on page
that's a
10.
capital.
The capital.
Right.
Right.
I'll make a motion that we accept, or we
Okay.
recommend Article 23.
I'll second.
And Sharon, second. Any discussion on the Selectmen's capital expenditures?
So just a question on 2 for Debbie. The heating is not going to impact you, just the auditorium? You're not going to get any benefit?
No,
Down here?
that's, so when we have our informational hearing on April 24th, we're hoping that it'll be a mild spring night because there's no heat upstairs.
It's two separate boilers.
It's
One's a-
original to the building, and we actually, Amy and I were hosting a purchasing seminar with the state, and we, at the end of it, the smoke started blowing out of the, thankfully, I think the fire chief was at this purchasing meeting, because it's original to the building, it's down, actually underneath my office, it's huge, and there's leaves that we're collecting in, causing some smoke, and it can't, we have to replace it. There's no way to fix it, it's so old.
No, I was just hoping that you might get better
Yeah.
heating and
I
air
actually
conditioning
don't have
here.
heat in my office. I have a space heater. There's no heat in my office.
Oh.
Yeah, so this would be for upstairs, so the selectmen are contemplating some, some options on that. But they realize, the auditorium is used, for big hearings and things like that.
Yeah.
And they'd like to have some heat up there now.
So why is it so expensive though? I mean, I don't know, what,
This is about, this is, we got,
$100,000 for heat?
You have to do
we
that.
we went for three
Demolish
quotes,
the
we got
existing
three,
system,
or two quotes, three quotes really. One gave us two, and it went from 54 up to 85, so we haven't made any decisions, obviously. And we will bid this out and get a lot more information, but we put the 100,000 in there just as a safe figure, so that
In case there's
we need to,
There's demolition
asbestos
involved.
and things like that,
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
hazmat,
Yeah.
things that need to be done.
Hmm.
Because they're going in the walls and.
If it's that old for a couple of years.
we have to make some choices when we do this system, what kind of a system we actually want to put in.
Yeah,
So
and,
this gives us the flexibility to, hopefully, we're gonna try and keep it as inexpensive as we can. But we don't wanna run into the water department problems of coming back every few months for another appropriation.
Okay, any other discussion on Article 23? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, Article 24 is recommended, Article 25 not required. Article 30. Let me know if I skipped anybody.
No, I think that's good.
Okay, Article 30, 125,000 for other post-employment benefits trust fund.
I recommend.
Okay,
And I'll second.
Janet. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Article 31, 50,000 for the stabilization fund.
Make a motion that we recommend Article 31.
Motion,
I'll second.
second. Any discussion on Article 31? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. I think that lines up. Annual town meeting.
maybe if everybody just wants to look at the ballot question, I think we would want to explain the wording on that. If there's no surprise on that.
Yeah, just, as Debbie said, there's no dollar figure on the override question. The school board, Mass School Building says that we are not allowed by law to put an actual dollar figure on that question. We can have it in the article, but we can't have it on the question, so normally we put the amount in the ballot question, but they said they will not allow that. If we want the reimbursement, we can't put the money in that.
Oh, we want the reimbursement.
On the question, so
Definitely.
it's gonna be a little, hopefully people will watch the meetings or come to the meetings and be aware of what the amount is. And I think most people going into the meeting are gonna know whether they're gonna vote for or
Right.
against anyway. But just be aware that
Someone's probably gonna ask the
if you get
question.
questions, if people ask you anything about it, the MSBA will not allow us to put the dollar figure in that question.
They'll probably ask the question of the meeting then.
The what?
They'll probably ask,
But this is
The
at the
meeting will have
ballot.
the,
Well, the meeting has
the
got the
meeting-
number.
the meeting number.
The ballot question won't.
oh, the ballot one, oh.
So you
This is the ballot
can't
question.
add to the ballot
Oh.
question the statement that it
Oh.
is
No.
by law, you
The
can't?
ballot has to be,
We asked, I was on a conference call with Tom Mullen, the town council, Claudia Matsko, the town's bond council, the general counsel of the MSBA, and the attorneys, other attorneys at MSBA, along with the OPM. And Tom asked that question because we were trying to really push this, because last year we did. We were able to put $800,000. The statute's very clear, and they go by it literally, and they said you can't. The bond council and the town council both said, well, it's fine to put the number in, if it will, it gives the voters an understanding of what they're voting on. they said no. They've had some towns that made that request, and they have said no, we go exactly by the statute.
I mean, our concern is that we don't want the voters to think we're trying to hoodwink them. And that's really what the, from a
Yeah.
perception point of view is, why aren't you putting the number down? You're trying to hide how much it's gonna be. So hopefully that people will know the number from between town
Right.
meeting and the various hearings and so on and so forth.
Because it,
We're bound by the law, so.
yeah,
Can't have any explanatory note or anything about it.
that's unfortunate, because it, I mean, people could look at it and think it's an open checkbook.
Right. No, that's, we understand that, and Debbie brought that up with the lawyers and so on and so forth.
Are you allowed to pipe somebody to circulate flyers outside the building before people vote?
Well, the
So they-
political
Well, you-
action committee could do that. the
You can't get any
PTA, but
closer to
not
the
us.
ballot, to the voting booth than the street up
300
front,
feet.
so, you
Yeah.
know, you can wave to people when they go by, maybe hold a big sign up or something, but that probably would be more detrimental, if you're for the question, that would be more detrimental than, you know what I mean, it is what it is, and
Right. That's too
Based on
bad.
what you said, that was well written.
Yeah.
It seems to be very clear.
Yeah, so this ballot question, was, reviewed by all those attorneys, and same with the wording on the article. I didn't change
Yeah.
any comma or anything. It was exactly, that Tom Mullen had gotten the approvals from all those
Okay, it looks fine. yeah.
other attorneys.
Okay, any other questions on the ballot question, comments? All right, next meeting would be April 24th.
Yes, so we don't need the meeting tomorrow night. I'll let the town clerk know we've canceled that and posted it.
All right, we can go to the group insurance cafeteria tomorrow and have a very big budget celebrating party. Okay, next meeting, April 24th, and then the town meeting, May 1st.
What time on the 24th, is it 7?
7, I think the selectmen will probably have a business meeting beforehand, maybe down here, but if you need a business meeting, we can post it for like 6:30. If you think you want to take care of, I don't know, other than
Yeah.
kicking right off on,
Other than maybe minutes, I don't see a need for it, so.
Get a break.
Right.
It won't be
Yeah, 7.
So it's 7.
Have a motion to adjourn?
Are you
I'll make
voting?
that motion. Second.
To adjourn, second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. We are adjourned, thank you.
You'll have to put up with me.